Welcome back and thank you for joining our weekly training on the pie of real estate, helping brokers like yourself increase in service skills to better service our clients in their immediate needs. Our goals is that week over week you could look at these trainings and increase in services and look at the services that we go over and take it for yourself on what is the best service that you need to increase. And we talk in the space of new homes, resale, and distressed. We truly believe that your client, or if you're going to be in business for 10, 15, 20 years, you will meet clients in all of these categories, and you have to know how to service your clients in these categories. And that's why every week we talk about the services that are necessary to bring back into your business that you could be a resource to your clients. We talk about the thought of the day. Every week we talk just about a motivational thought of the day, and today I want to talk about your sphere, your and my sphere. It's called the 30-30-30 rule. What does that mean? That means when you look at your sphere of people that are involved in your life, 30% of them should be people below you, meaning you're serving them, whether they're below you in age or financial or economically or in any way, but they are people you are leaning to and serving. That means there may be just beginners in business, maybe they're new brokers, maybe they're new administration people in your business, and you are serving them. It is very important in your sphere to have people who you are giving to, because this is what a true balanced life looks like. Then the next sphere of people in your life, the 30%, are people in your category and your age. These are people you work out with. These are people you do sports with. These are people that you hang out with. This could be, a culture, bicyclists, or golfers, or hunters, or whatever. But these are people where you interact socially. In your sphere, you should have 30% of people which you interact socially. And then the top tier is 30% of people of where you are heading in your life. What I find is a lot of people have 30%, or they're more, I would say, in balance, is they have 60, 70% in their middle tier, in their sphere. I mean, they overdo it. They go to too many social places. They overdo it at other things or hobbies. And a lot of times they get misguided in life. These are the guardrails that help you have a very balanced sphere in your personal life when you take the 30-30-30 rule, or in business also. Meaning there's 30% of people who you are serving. There are 30% of people who you're enjoying interacting with on a day-to-day basis. And there's 30% of people who you're always looking up to, understanding that that is the next tier in your life. If you're, for say, 20 years old, you got people that you hang out with in college or school or maybe work, but you should also be looking at people in the future. Those who have families, who've established their businesses, who've kind of figured out the true values of life. You should be looking upon those people, but yet at the same time, maybe you go back and give to, volunteer in school, volunteer in church, volunteer in a nonprofit, and there's a way that you give back. In every age group, there's the same thing. You look up, and then you kind of got a plateau where you have your social life, and then there's that group of people that you serve. But this truly makes up a very balanced sphere, whether it's in your business or your personal life, when you have people groups in each of these spheres. If we have too many people in the upper sphere, we tend to grow up too early. And then when we kind of come down to our sphere within our own age group, we kind of start to be disconnected. So again, life is all about balance. It's not about going one way or another direction. It's always about balancing your life. So the principle of 30-30-30, look at your life, I look at my life, and I figure out, do I have enough people in the certain categories or in the certain spheres? If you're serving all the time and that becomes like 80% sphere of your life, well, guess what? That's where burnouts happen. And I met a lot of people. They give their whole life away to serving, which is not a bad thing, but they do not re-engage themselves. They do not restore themselves in the social aspect of just having a social life with just socializing, going out to dinner, going out to parks, going out to sports, just socializing. That's where oftentimes we reestablish our energy, we reestablish our goals, our visions, and so forth. So balance your life in a way where it is truly balanced, because that truly gives you the fulfillment of life. So the 30-30-30 rule. Last session we talked about committing to self-mastery. And like I mentioned, more of these trainings are going to be about entrepreneurship, where we're enhancing our business in different spheres of how to become better managers of our own business. Again, Powered by Ground is about services and management. So we talk a lot about management, building up management in our own businesses, because that is what will help grow our businesses to the next level. So last time we talked about self-mastery. We talked about the areas where you need to become a master and grow and remove that cap and allow yourself to grow into the necessary space that you're trying to go. Today we're going to talk about the principle of 80-20. The principle of 80-20. 20% of your efforts gets you 80% of your results. So if you take 10 hours, 2 hours of your work produces the full payment of the 10-hour workload. So 2 hours is the formula, or the efforts that are placed in those 2 hours gets you the 8 hours of results. So if you're prospecting for 2 hours, it will produce 8 more hours of work. So 20% of your efforts equals 80% of the results. And this is very important, because if you can grow in effectiveness, you can produce more results by being more effective, meaning more laser focused. If you can increase that 20% to 30%, you gain so much more results, and that results of overflow can be now pushed upon other people or other partners in your business. But 20% equals 80% of your results. 20% of your marketing equals 80% return. 20% of investment equals 80. 20% of your time equals 80%. This is the principle that you and I need to be guided by. That 20% of our efforts equals 80% of results. I remember one businessman, one of my mentors, he mentioned that he used to have layers of people that were accountable to, and then eventually he figured out that, you know what, some of these questions, it would be a lot more effective and I would have quicker results if my front secretary did not answer these questions. If these questions just got passed on to me and I would just quickly answer them, and I can move a lot faster through projects instead of those questions sitting at the front desk and not getting me the results I needed fast enough. So effectiveness and results. He assessed his business and he understood that it was not effective for those questions to sit on the front desk for 2 days by the time the secretary got to them. He understood that if those questions could just get relayed to him and he could get them answered really quickly to the people who are asking, then he's a lot more effective and the results are a lot more better. So what we're saying is you have to look at the energy that you're putting for the output that you're getting. Is it worth it? Or maybe you move along. And this is part of our training that we talk about. Where is the true market? So we talk about new homes, resale, and distress. If the market share of new homes is like 30%, and you're putting all your efforts in expireds and FSBOs, you're not going to get good results. Because the true market is saying that 30% of the market is new home sales. That means you need to be more effective and you need to allocate energy and time into the new home space. You have to. As a business owner, you have to move into that space. Then you have to look at, because we're in services, you have to look at which services bring you the most amount of profit. And if they're not effective, cut them out. What this allows you to do is, this allows you to understand that if I could, for 2 hours a day, prospect, and that generates, 8 hours of business, that means I could really scale my business. I know all the push buttons. If I push these buttons, they produce the highest return of income. Like in my contractor world, like my electrician will not go and just change a light bulb. If a client calls him and says, can you go change a light bulb for me? He's not going to do that. Why? Because there's no results. This is not the best use of his time. So the best thing that he could do is just move on that lead or pass that lead on. Sometimes I don't take a lot of the business that comes my direction. Why? Because I'm not effective there. If I put energy on figuring out how to build a good resale business, and most of my business is new home sales, then I'm going to generate a lot less results. If my business is distressed and then I'm trying to do a lot of new homes, I got to figure out how to slowly move into that space. But we have to understand this is the best formula to formulate your business. So identify the vital few key things that are important in your business. Where do you get your leads? Where have you made your money in the last 6 to 12 months? Where has the money come from? Which clients? Make these assessments so now your 20% of effectiveness, you can push towards that area because that's where you got most of your results to begin with. But most people keep on pushing many other buttons or other categories and getting 0 results. Cut them out. Don't spend that. What's also unique is when they talk about how much true energy level you have during the day, you usually have 20 to 30% of energy to allocate for that day, and then you're burned out. So what I'm saying is you got about 2 to 3 hours of a day to put all your pressure on those 2 or 3 hours, because after that you won't have that energy level to move forward through that day. So what is the one appointment that you have to do? What is the 10 things that you have to do during those 2 to 3 hours that are going to get you the 80% result? What are those things? You have to put most of your things into the 20% because they generate the 80% result. Simplify and streamline operations. Build habits that are not taking too much of your energy. I believe it was the previous CEO of Apple. He just wore one shirt. That's it. Steve Jobs just wore one shirt his whole life. He understood it's so ineffective to go into his closet every day and spend an hour choosing what's the best clothes to wear. So he said that was not effective. It did not derive any better results. It didn't matter if he wore a long sleeve, a short sleeve, purple, white, green, blue. It didn't matter. So what did he do? He understood his effectiveness, that if he took 30 seconds to choose the clothes he wanted to wear, that was the best thing because it gave him the same results. So simplify and streamline your business. Refine marketing efforts. We already talked about this. Look at all your marketing and see where 20% generates 80% of the results. If you're no longer getting business and you can't drive business from Zillow, cut it off. For someone it works, for you it doesn't. If you outbound calls or door knocking, whatever spheres generate you the 80% of the results, that's where you want to place your 20% of effort. Enhance customer relationships. Measure and track your key metrics, and productivity and time management. What can you get done in 2 or 3 hours of your productive, effective time frame? If you had 3 hours, what are the most important things that you have to do in those 3 hours that generate business for the rest of the day? And I'll tell you, prospecting is 1. Setting appointments is 2, and being at the appointments is 3. Those 3 things usually produce 80% of your income and results. It's not only me. Statistically, every broker who analyzed their business, they said these three things equal 80% of the income. If they prospect, if they set appointments, and if they are at appointments, meaning they physically are at appointments. These three things equal the results. So today, it's more on business entrepreneurship. Invest into your business because that's where you get all the results. Spend time on education, spend time on learning, spend time on analyzing and criticizing your own business on how you can apply this principle more and more in your own business.